This is One-on-One. Vince Giordano is the Executive Director of the NJEA, the New Jersey Education Association. Good to see you, Vince.
Thank you, Steve. Nice to be here.
We're doing this program as we enter a new school year. Tenure reform, nationally recognized, historic in the state of New Jersey. Yeah. What happened? Why is it so significant?
Yeah, well, first of all, just a quick advance footnote. It is historic, but we did change the tenure law back in 1998. So it's not exactly the first time in 100 years, but the level to which it has been modified certainly is a significant change.
Right now, teachers, based on the new law, right, which the NJEA was a part of the negotiation, sat at the table, which, hey, that was significant. No longer 3 years, now it's 4 years before a teacher's up for tenure, correct?
Yeah, the change in that regard is there will be a first-year mentoring program. That year will not count as one of the years necessary to acquire tenure. However, you would still have to get 2 positive evaluations, what they call highly effective or effective, in the next 3 years to get your tenure. So the mentoring year is strictly a year to get the first-year novice teacher on board, get them up to speed, give them the kind of help they need. It's not counted as part of the tenure process. You may recall back in December of 2010, we had a press conference. We put out a bunch of principles that we were interested in. One was a mentoring program in the first year, add a 4th year. The other was shorten the process, make it less expensive, and take it out of the bureaucracy of the courts and put it into the hands of arbitrators, because the biggest complaint the public was raising always was they take too long and they cost too much. So this law, the reason we were very happy with the final outcome of it, and we're very supportive of the law, is that it has a 4th-year mentoring. It has a shorter process. It will be much less expensive, and it will now, the cases will now go to arbitrators. So our 4 goals that we were on board with back in 2010 came out in this bill. So obviously we were supportive and
Mr. Giordano, let me ask you this. Yeah. You are implying, Vince, yeah. By the way, the NJEA, full disclosure for those who know, is an underwriter of some of our other programming on the Caucus Educational Corporation. Vince, you seem to be saying that you're very happy with it, and you also seem to be implying that there's a bit of a détente, if you will, with Governor Christie, where there had been a lot of, let's just say, at loggerheads, because you sat at the table and you worked it out with him, his administration, the Education Department, and State Senator Teresa Ruiz, chair of the Senate Education Committee. You guys good with the governor?
Well, you know, the word détente, that's an interesting word, French term. I actually went to my thesaurus, and so after doing some research, I wouldn't use the word détente.
Give me your word.
We have worked on a tenure bill cooperatively with all the parties that you just indicated, very closely with Commissioner Cerf in the Department of Education, Senator Ruiz, and we think it's a model for a process, a collaborative, cooperative process that we ought to utilize more often. So in that regard, at least, we were able to work hand in hand and spend hours and hours. This took almost a year and a half. Lots of late night coffee, lots of pizza, I'm sorry to say. And it turned out to be something that at the end of the day was the product of a lot of compromise, a lot of collaboration. Whether or not there will be a long-range détente or some peace process, I think that'll play out in terms of what happens next, and I'd love to see the same model. Although I must say, I obviously I watched the Republican convention last night.
Let's make it clear we're taping the program literally while it'll air right after the governor's keynote speech down in Tampa. Your reaction?
Well, my overall...
to the part about, hey, the line about teachers and teachers unions. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he missed an opportunity there. This was a national, broadcast, obviously. I missed an opportunity to say, look, I've even worked with the teachers union in our state where we have had...
Which he did on the tenure bill.
He certainly did. He said at the signing of the bill, he praised our involvement and thanked us for our involvement and cooperation. I think I don't know why he got into that at all in a national speech to support the nomination of Mitt Romney last night at all, but if he felt it was necessary, he could have gone a little bit on a higher road and said, I even got the teachers union to cooperate and find ways to reach conclusions. He kind of avoided that and got back into a little, I thought, adversarial commentary about the relationship that pre-existed. And my overall assessment of speech last night was it was a great speech for his campaign 216. I thought he made more comments about himself in that regard than he did about Romney. I think he remembered why he was there near the end of his speech, and he threw Romney a couple of
Back to education,
crumbs.
Vince.
Okay.
Okay, try this. Seniority, one of the pieces that a lot of people talk about, including Commissioner Cerf. Hey, listen, tenure reform, great start, important, historic.
Right.
However, we did not deal with the issue of if a school system is going to let people go, we should not be dealing with seniority that a teacher has years in the system as a priority. You guys drew the line on that, right?
Well, we did, and we made no bones about it. We said we're going to draw a line in the sand on this seniority issue, or this LIFO issue, as some people refer to it, last in, first out. The reason is simple. The whole reason you have seniority in the first place is that the people who put the tenure law into place understood that teachers had to be free to express themselves, to have some academic freedom, not be subject to political interference, not be subject to nepotism, not worry about that they were the highest on the salary guide, so they might be the cheapest way to go in terms of a layoff, et cetera. And those reasons haven't really changed at this point. More importantly, maybe in today's context, is that the way the new system is set up under this law and the evaluation process works, there shouldn't be a hard decision to make about who to keep. The district has a choice of removing teachers who are either partially ineffective or ineffective. And if they use the system and they remove teachers in that regard, and of course after due process and the hearing and the rest of what we fought very hard to keep in this legislation, then they'll only be left with effective and highly effective teachers. So the whole issue of seniority being a problem should go away by itself. Only time will tell in that regard, I'm sure, but we think it ought to be given a chance.
Let me get your thoughts, quick thoughts on two other issues. Teacher evaluation, talk to me about it.
Yeah, teacher evaluation, critical to the legislation on tenure that was just passed. There's been a pilot program in place this past school year, 2011-12. It involved 10 districts, 11 actually. Newark was privately funded, but 10 that were funded by public funds. And they came through that pilot, and then there's 30 districts that will be in a second phase of that pilot this coming year. It is critical that the evaluation system be fair, be reasonable, be one that everybody understands, et cetera, because it is the system upon which the decisions of employment will be made in terms of renewal or non-renewal of teachers' contracts. So we're focused on the evaluation issue very significantly.
Question, virtual charter schools, big subject, not understood, NJEA's position.
Well, we're not per se supportive or opposed to the concept of some virtual education, okay? What we are concerned about is that there are suggestions that it could totally replace our current educational system, remove the face-to-face interaction between the teacher and the student, which is really the pinpoint at which education occurs, et cetera. So the commissioner had a proposal to...
Commissioner Cerf.
Commissioner Cerf had an initial proposal to create virtual charter schools. We objected to that, and I must say, to his credit, he wisely withdrew that proposal. But then, in its place, there is something called a blend charter virtual school, which means, I think from the commissioner's point of view and from others, that they're taking the traditional education and putting some of the virtual concepts in. Our review of it so far would indicate it's mostly going to be the same thing that he stepped back from earlier. So we are looking at, we did institute some litigation to stop the two schools that were scheduled for opening sometime on or about September of this year. The court did not issue a restraint, but said you can come back and argue the whole case on the merits. We are in the process right now of having more discussion about whether we'll pursue that litigation. So if we think it's a bad idea educationally, we'll challenge it. I think that's the way I would summarize it.
An unresolved issue.
It is currently not a resolved issue, right?
Vince, thank you for joining us. Because
it's always a pleasure.
This is not just part of our back to school special because these issues are always timely. Thank you, Vince, from the NJEA. Your perspective is important. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, Steve. Good to be here. Appreciate it.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back right after this.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and banking under the principle of stewardship. PSE&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. And by the law firm of Gibbons PC. Promotional support provided by NJ Biz, All Business, All New Jersey. And by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association and its monthly magazine, New Jersey Business. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.